something about it. There are a lot of people who say bad things to other Kenyans in your name.
Joe, social media is a free media. You don't regulate it. You don't even know who is speaking there. Sometimes people put your name there and they speak on your behalf. So I don't want to interfere in the freedom of expression. People say all sorts of things that they want to say, and I don't want to regulate it. It's a freedom of expression, and it's something that is new. Maybe you people in mainstream media are also not used to it.
And you say you have no responsibility there as a leader, because there are people who say that social media funds violence. If, for example, there's violence in this election, that would be a very active playing ground, no?
I have no brief for people in the social media, but you need to know that social media exists also in the United States, in Britain, and so on. I see Mr. Kaparo charged how to guard social media, how you want to stop them, hate speech, and so on. I hope this is not an excuse to do what they did in Uganda during the election time, shutting off the internet so that they could exclude social media. I think that is a freedom of expression which should not be interfered with.
All right, Mr. Odinga, before we move to the next stage where we'll open this to the audience here, I want us to revisit an issue that my colleague Linus touched on, and this is the issue of corruption as our next segment here. And you said that one of the reasons why the cost of living is rising in this country, and one of the reasons why you believe the country is headed in the wrong direction, is because of runaway corruption. As president, if you get elected, what would be your specific role in the fight against corruption?
Joe, corruption exists virtually in every country. The difference is that in some countries, when it is uncovered, action is taken against the people who are involved, and that is where we are different. That's the reason why Kenya ranks very high in the Transparency International Anti-Corruption Index. I think this now rank Kenya as the third most corrupt country in the world. Kenya is playing in the Super League of corruption. The giants like Nicaragua, Sri Lanka, DR Congo, and so on.
But even during your time as Prime Minister, we still were ranked together with Nepal and Nicaragua.
No, we were lower. We were lower. We have climbed much higher now. But what was happening is that we kept on going lower and lower from where we took it, when we took over from Kanu.
But tell us what, as president, you do.
What I'm saying is the action is what is lacking. And here I say that the buck stops with the president, that action needs to be taken. When we were forming this NASA coalition, we sat down among ourselves and deliberated seriously on this issue. That's why you'll find it in our coalition agreement. You say that every member of this club will ensure that they don't do business with government, and that includes also their relatives, and that action will be taken against public servants who are involved in any kind of corrupt act. If you find a situation where a president convenes a meeting in State House to talk about corruption, and then admits publicly, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, and this. What do you want me to do? I've failed. Basically, exhibiting failure. I say, Mr. President, the buck stops with you.
Okay,
if you have failed, then pack up and go home.
Well, that's fair enough, and that's easy to say. But I have listened to the president when he speaks about corruption, and I think this is what he says, that he has ensured his government has provided money to the agencies. He says all the commissions are independent, EACC, Directorate of Criminal Investigations, the courts are independent, and that he fired certain people from his cabinet, which was within his powers to do, and that, based on what the Constitution says, there's nothing left for him to do. If you were in that situation, what is that other thing you would have done as President Raila Odinga?
First, Mr. President needs to allow the independent institution to work independently. He took a list which had been given just for information, names which were still under investigations. And because he was in a hurry, he went and tabled it in Parliament. Some of those people had not been found guilty. There was no sufficient evidence against them. And he tarnished names of very many innocent people. Then, on the other one, when we looked at that list, we found that a number of names were actually missing. Some names had been expunged from it. And I challenged him. And I said there was a name here of then the Minister for Devolution, which was here and has been removed. And I showed him where the name had been removed. Then came the NYS case. And I told him, I know what is happening in Kibera. I know how NYS was being looted. And I said, the suspect is so-and-so. They came out and said, I should leave that lady alone, that I should face them directly, himself and his deputy. He could call a press conference in State House. When later on evidence emerged linking that minister with that scandal, Deputy President went to a church in Githurai and said that that lady should stop speaking too much English. She must answer. You know, for your information, Joe, that lady is the candidate of Jubilee for gubernatorial elections in Kirinyaga.
So what would you have done, Mr. Odinga?
I would have taken action, a la Magafuli style. I would have Magafuli'd her.
So take the NYS case, for example. What would you have done about it that is different from what President Kenyatta did?
NYS case?
Yes.
There was glaring evidence. Those companies which were formed are all fictitious names. They're basically people who are fronting, or the people behind it. It's very easy to find out who is behind this company, this company, this company. I can even tell you the individuals who are involved. I will ensure that action is taken, that money is recovered and put to good use. I told you that the mega corruption of the Jubilee, amounting to about 350 billion shillings, is also responsible for our plight today here. Every Kenyan is owed 7,500 shillings by the Jubilee government. Every shilling that they spend, 1 shilling is lost, is going to people's private pockets. So they come up with budgets of billions and billions. You put billions in health, billions in education, billions here. All those billions don't go to proper use. They're all misappropriated. I mean, a big chunk of it.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Odinga. We want to move to another special segment in our conversation this evening, and that has to do with the audience, the very patient audience that is behind us. And my colleague Linus Kaikai is going to take the first question with the audience.
That's right, indeed. We do have the audience seated in here, and we've also received very many questions by email prior to this debate. And we do appreciate the number of questions that we did receive, and apologize it will not be possible to have all those questions answered. A lot of questions directly asked to President Uhuru Kenyatta, and a lot of questions asked directly to Honorable Raila Odinga. From the audience now here, let me bring in some of the people who are here to raise their questions directly. And first to go, Phyllis Omido. Phyllis, your question, please.
Thank you to the organizers and Your Excellency. We honor you for coming. Thank you for respecting Kenyans. The largest contributor to climate change is carbon emissions. And this is mostly from large business projects that are very tragic, like the Lamu coal plant. Kenya has had a maize crisis, which government has largely blamed on climate change. But even after acknowledging the contribution of climate change to food security, both manifestos were silent on mitigation measures to our communities, to the Kenyan citizens, especially the farmer and the poor. So even though I know your manifesto offered us a leeway in terms of environmental and social impact assessment before setting up of projects, would like to know, in cases like the Lamu Coal project, which is a very tragic project to put up in such a place because of the impacts to the ecosystems and communities, what would you do as the executive to address this issue, bearing in mind that Article 69 and 70 is not affordable to communities, to poor communities like the ones in Lamu?
I really want this question from again.
That's fine. Phyllis will come back to you. Let's go to Flora Nyaga. Flora, are you in? Please ask your question. Phyllis will come back to you.
Thank you. My name is Flora Nyaga from Embu County. Honorable Odinga, please tell us how you have prioritized the main challenges that you will be faced with should you win the forthcoming general elections. And how will you translate these into realities in terms of solutions for the ordinary Kenyans? Thank you.
Thank you, Flora. I think, Honorable Odinga, you can answer that straight away. What are your priorities when you...
Thank you very much. You did not enumerate issues that you wanted me to talk about. We have got issues of the cost of living, you've got issues of unemployment, you've got issues of corruption, which are major issues afflicting Kenyans at the moment. And we have got issues of devolution. Let me begin first with devolution. We have stated clearly that when we take over, we will devolve more resources to the county governments so that they can be able to meet the challenges that are facing them with respect to devolved functions. So we said we will increase it from 15% to 45%. And that is a commitment that we have. With regard to issues of unemployment, 40% of our population is unemployed. You can say roughly 12 million youths are out there on the streets who are unemployed. This situation is unacceptable. And we say that we are going to look at areas where we can be able to create employment faster. And that's why I said we'll address the informal sector, where 13 million Kenyans are employed at the moment. This is a sector that is more elastic, where more opportunities can be created. You have said we are going to set up industrial parks in all the 47 counties, which will give youth opportunity to be more productively engaged, where they will have the facilities, the equipment, they will receive training so that they have the skills, and they will have also access to capital so that they can work. Then the issue of the cost of living, we will also address the issue of food production to be able to provide for our ever-expanding population, which is not the cost at the moment.
And in order of priority, Honorable Odinga, if I understood Flora Nyaga well, what are you going for first as soon as you take office?
First, the issue of putting food on the table, reducing the cost of living for the people. This is our priority number one. And we will address the issues of cereals, particularly unga, so that we can be able to lower the price of maize flour in the country. We can deal with issues of sugar, issues of milk, and so on. We deal with issues of wages, we deal with issues of rents, as I've mentioned, the issues of the cost of transport, particularly for the urban, and